for the 7th time, at least some of you. I will now outline to you the elements of the budget. As we say, action now for the future. The 208-209 budget will give us, will provide for a $2.9 billion injection for transport, health, community services and other portfolio initiatives. $1.42 billion for the rail electrification and major transport initiatives in this budget alone, but bearing in mind that the electrification process is a $2 billion program over 10 years. Nearly $500 million for health, 9% nominal increase in health expenditure catered for in this budget. That's an extra 50,000 operations and procedures in our hospitals, up to nearly 200 million for vulnerable kids in care, and of course 50 million to increase the efficiency of our justice system here in South Australia. We've announced earlier today, $130 million for first home buyers. We've scrapped the old antiquated system, which was about, value-wise, about an $8 million a year program, replacing it with a program that is somewhere in the order of $32 to $33 million a year. So a fourfold increase in the amount of financial assistance we'll be giving to first home buyers in this state. Of course, payroll tax, as we'll see, we're matching Victoria on the rate, but we're going past Victoria in terms of the value of the tax cut, because we're now lifting the threshold in a two-stage effect to $554,000, then up to $600,000. So a more competitive payroll tax rate than Victoria, more competitive than New South Wales. Now, in terms of the fiscal outlook, I mean, this is where we start every budget. I mean, it's not a matter of working out how much you want to spend and then how do you make it all work. The first exercise in any budgeting process by this government is what do we have available, and the principal setting that we aim for is a budget surplus as large as we possibly can get. As we enter into a period of more sustained borrowings, it's important that we have good, strong operating balances, surpluses. The borrowings that we have in the forward estimates are for infrastructure and infrastructure alone. That's the proper balance, and as you'll see, and you'll see earlier in the papers, that our surplus for this year, I might add, is estimated to be coming in somewhere in the order of, I think, about 360 million. And that's in your data set there. So the current year we're in will have a very, very sizable surplus. We're predicting an operating surplus for the next financial year of 160 million, and then tracking around the mid threes to mid to low fours. So a $400 million surplus in a budget the size of ours is a very, very significant achievement. If you have a look at the budget surpluses that I think New South Wales were predicting, and even Victoria, when you look at the proportion of our economy and the proportion of our population and the size of our budget, they are more impressive budget surpluses than a number of states in Australia. That then allows us to borrow money. That is what we call the net lending. That is where we borrow money for infrastructure. And if we had a column here, the debt level of the state now is negligible. It might be 80 million. So we're effectively debt-free. We've wiped out debt on the budget through previous good budget outcomes, which now allows us to moderately gear our balance sheet, a very, very minor or a small proportion of our balance sheet. It is proportionate, eminently affordable, and serviced by these very, very large surpluses. I spoke to the rating agencies in New York this morning and Melbourne, and they seem quite relaxed about that. Now, the net lending deficits will peak in 2010, 2011, 11-12 actually, and then they will start to consolidate and eventually come down if we continue to run very, very strong surpluses. The important point is you have to have a very, very strong operating balance that is vital to ensuring that we support the state's hard-earned AAA credit rating.
The first steps in a bold new direction for Adelaide's public transport system came with the extension of the Glenelg tramline and a comprehensive update of bus services and timetables. The popular tram service now extends to the city's business and retail districts, the tourist precinct on North Terrace and City West. Now it's time to take the next big leap by extending the tram further into Adelaide's West End, home to the $1.7 billion Marjorie Jackson Nelson Hospital project, and then down Port Road and onto the Adelaide Entertainment Centre. New dual voltage trams will operate on the network and access the existing Outer Harbour rail corridor and service new rail extensions to West Lakes and a refurbished football park. And onto Semaphore through the heart of Port Adelaide, creating an exciting coast-to-coast rail system. And with work underway on re-sleepering our rail lines, we can now electrify key corridors both south and north, adding new rolling stock for faster, cleaner, more efficient train travel. Extra buses and a new ticketing system are also provided for, completing an almost $2 billion package that will revitalise public transport over the next decade. We're taking action now for the future.